Okay, so sugar. Like I was explaining in the last video, I think of it as a life sucker, just because it really does drain energy out of you more than it actually gives you. I'm going to read you a little bit about what Luigi Gratton, who is a medical doctor, has his MD and MPH, what he kind of talks about with his patients, how he handles the idea of sugar. He says, I always encourage my patients when shopping to avoid sugar and instead look for protein. Since we live in a carbohydrate-rich society, it's not always easy to find low-calorie, healthful foods which are generally expensive and have a short shelf life. This is all too obvious when traveling. Whether it's the airport or a gas station, high-protein foods that are low in sugar are difficult to find. The next time you walk into a gas station, a food stop, or a snack bar in the airport, look around. You will see lots of chips, candies, crackers, donuts, muffins, and plenty of soda. Generally, the only protein is beef jerky, almonds, and milk. Now, protein bars are coming into fashion, but they are not widespread. The problem with snacking on these sugary foods is the empty calories. You want to make your calories count, and sugar doesn't help much. Pre-packaged foods that are high in sugar generally do not have high nutrient density. Okay, and that's kind of a big deal. We live in this society where it's just normal to have chips, at parties. It's normal that your snack is something that has absolutely no nutritional value, whereas snacking is such a key important time to get in nutrition. He goes on to say, protein is the nutrient of interest for most of the current diets. In the 1980s, the high carbohydrate diet was king, but this diet has proven deleterious to most people. We do need carbohydrates. Remember, it's like the fuel you add in the gas tank of your car. But unless you're training for a marathon, and this is the key, you do not need that much. And that's where you have to kind of step back and say, well, how much am I actually eating here? If you food log and you find you're eating somewhere between 75 and 80% carbohydrates, like that's a problem. You need to back it back down to about 50%. Generally, about 40 to 50% of your daily calories can come from carbohydrates, which means on a 2,000 calorie per day diet, that is approximately 800 to 1,000 calories, which translates into the typical Western breakfast of a large latte and a muffin. Under these conditions, you're usually tapped out by 10 a.m. with all the carbs you need for the day. Now imagine adding some pizza, a hamburger, and a soda, and mid-afternoon coffee, a bag of chips, and maybe some bread with dinner. It's not hard to quickly accumulate 4,000 calories. Cutting carbohydrates out of the diet is the basis of most, if not all, of the popular diet programs today. The idea of a low-fat diet has changed, and now a diet rich in healthy fats, such as monounsaturated fats from nuts, avocados, and olive oil, and polyunsaturated fats from fish oil and flaxseed is popular. The percentage for dietary protein can vary widely, but most experts target around 30%. Alright, so sugar. Now, where does sugar come into play with this? Say the word sugar, and most people picture the familiar white granular stuff many of us have in a sugar bowl at home. But what is sugar exactly? Table sugar is just one form of sugar we get in the diet. Sugars are carbohydrates, and they exist naturally in different forms and in all kinds of foods. The granulated sugar that you might sprinkle on your cereal is called sucrose, which is produced primarily by extracting the sugar from sugar beets or sugar cane, although it's present in lots of other plant foods too. The primary sugar in fruits is called fructose, and there is a naturally occurring sugar in milk called lactose. When you consume a fruit, a vegetable, or a dairy product, you can't avoid consuming the natural sugar that these foods contain. So again, even sugar, even though I call it a life sucker, even sugar isn't a terrible, awful thing to exclude from your diet. Sugars are going to come in fruits and in milk and in different kind of things like that. But the idea is the source of your sugar also giving you nutrition, like the fiber from the apples and that kind of a thing? Or is it, just this awful sugar that is packaged and chemicalized to death? All sugars ultimately end up in the bloodstream in the form of glucose, which is the form of sugar that our body prefers to use for energy. While sugars in foods end up as glucose in the bloodstream, so do the end products of the digestion of all carbohydrate-rich foods, like fruits, vegetables, and starchy foods. The concern about sugar intake from added sugars, not the naturally occurring one, has mostly to do with the fact they are considered to be empty calories. That is, sugar provides calories, which the body uses for energy, but no vitamins or minerals. So if you consume a lot of sugary foods instead of healthier items, you are shortchanging yourself by not getting enough of the vitamins, minerals, fiber, and healthy phytonutrients that carbohydrate-rich natural foods contains. Again, those are berries, beans, whole grains, and fruits, okay? And vegetables. All sugar is we eat a lot of sugar, even in foods that don't taste sweet. This is the tricky part too. Aside from the obvious items like sodas, fruit drinks, sweetened cereals, and desserts, sugar in one form or another finds its way into condiments, soups, breads, and even savory snacks like chips. The primary health hazard of eating too much sugar is tooth decay. The bacteria that live in your mouth can convert sugars into an acid that can destroy tooth enamel. Foods that are sweet and sticky, like fruit snacks or gummy candies, are particularly a problem since the sugar stays in contact with the teeth. Does sugar make you fat? Certainly, sugars add extra calories to the diet, and extra calories mean extra weight. Most studies have focused on soda consumption, and several have concluded that as soda consumption increases, so does the risk of obesity. Part of the problem with beverages is that they don't fill us up, so we can consume a lot of calories in these sweet liquids and still consume regular solid foods too before we feel full. The other issue is that many foods that are high in added sugars are also high in fats and calories. Cakes, pastries, ice cream, and candy bars are just some of the sweet foods we eat that are loaded down with fat and calories. Food manufacturers are more than happy to accommodate America's sweet tooth. Sugar is inexpensive and adds a lot of taste to foods. To know how much sugar you are eating, it's important to understand that many forms of sugar are added to foods. By reading the label, you might not realize how much sugar a food really contains. And she kind of goes on to say that there's a lot of different types of sugars: sucrose, fructose, glucose, blah, 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 corn syrup, high fructose, corn syrup, all that kind of stuff. And that's kind of, the trouble is kind of what she talked about earlier. It's kind of a long article, but the idea is that it's in so many things, and to be perfectly honest, at least from what I have seen, one, it's a terrible source of energy when it's not combined with the fiber that comes in good carbohydrates. Okay, it's just going to make you crash and make you crave more crap the rest of the day. It does nothing for you. No one I talk to feels good after they eat sugar, right? Secondly, the thing about sugar that not everyone in the medical field is necessarily coming out with, but at least from what I can tell, is it seems to be a cancer feeder, if that makes sense. Cancer cells, from what I can tell, tend to feed on sugar, and it provides no nutrition. You know, sure, eating less sugar is going to help you to lose weight, but at the same time, the most important thing is that sugar is terrible, terrible, awful, awful, awful for your health. So what should you do? How do you navigate just like normal life, right? Okay, here's kind of my policy. One, when you're eating on a daily basis, get your sugars from natural places. If it's not a natural sugar, like coming from an apple, not like apple-derived sugar, but coming from an apple, and you get the fiber and the nutrition from the apple, so you get some sugar, that's fine, no problem. You know, if it's coming from, like a candy bar, I mean, it's just kind of an obvious no-brainer. The problem is that it's not going to give you cancer tomorrow. It's not going to make you ill tomorrow. But it's so, so key. If you just cut out sugar from your life for 1 week, you would feel incredibly, incredibly improved in your health. So that's kind of my recommendation for you guys. If it's something that you struggle with and you don't feel like you can do even on your own, one of the things that Herbalife provides is called Snack Defense. You take 2 tablets a day. And I'll just kind of read you the description of it. It's a caffeine-free, unique dietary supplement which helps support blood sugar level already within the normal range. It's an excellent source of chromium, and it can be taken any time of the day or night. The way it works is it's a unique blend of botanical and mineral ingredients. Hymnema helps decrease the absorption rate of glucose in the body. Chromium is a cofactor that helps insulin perform its function by allowing better cell absorption of glucose. When you eat too many carbohydrates, you can have a sudden increase in your blood sugar and insulin level, causing you to store fat. Hymnema and chromium helps your body handle sugar from your meals. So snack defense helps support blood sugar level already within the normal range.